My fingers holding the book bag strap were white, and my knuckles trembled slightly from the effort. The sound of Liu Yumei and Zhang Taijun haggling filled my ears, each word like a needle piercing my heart. I felt truly reborn. Reborn at this moment before the college entrance exam. In front of me was the unassuming small hotel at the street corner. Zhang Taijun, with his slightly plump belly, wore a shrewd smile on his face and jingled a set of keys. Big sister, this is a fair price, 99 yuan a night, and it's only 2 streets away from the exam site. During the national college entrance examination, you won't find another place at this price, even with a lantern. Liu Yumei's eyes lit up, pulling Lin Yuyao's hand with urgency. Is it really that cheap? Then let's book 2 rooms. I'll stay with my youngest daughter in one room, and my eldest daughter will stay in the other. That way, we can make do for 2 nights. Lin Yuyao pouted and ducked behind Liu Yumei, whispering. Mom, this hotel looks so run down. I don't want to stay here. Can we change to a better one? What do you know? Liu Yumei patted her head affectionately. It's just for 2 nights during the college entrance exams. What's wrong with making do? Isn't it better to save money for new dresses and tuition fees? Your sister can just stay anywhere. She's tough. These words were exactly the same as in her previous life. I stood beside her, feeling as if all my blood had frozen. In her past life, it was this 99 yuan discounted room that ruined her college entrance exams. The room was next to a night market, and it was noisy until around 2 or 3 a.m. The poor soundproofing allowed her to hear the snoring of the people next door. For the 2 days of the exams, she barely slept at all. Her mind was clouded, and her grades, which were originally good enough to get her into a top-tier university, ultimately qualified her only for a junior college. And Liu Yumei and Lin Yuyao immediately booked the quiet chain hotel next door, but lied to me saying that it was too expensive and only this discounted room was available. Lin Zhengwo stood to the side, his hands in his pants pockets, looking down without saying a word. As if he hadn't heard Liu Yumei's biased words, or as if he had long been accustomed to such scenes. He had always been like this, cowardly and avoiding, watching as Liu Yumei showed favoritism and as I was wronged, but never saying a fair word. Boss, wait a moment. I finally spoke, my voice not loud, but with an unquestionable determination that broke the lively atmosphere. Everyone froze, and Liu Yumei turned to glare at me, her brows furrowed into a knot. Lin Yanxi, what are you shouting about? Quickly shut up. The boss is about to book us a room. Zhang Taijun also stopped his actions, looking at me puzzled. Girl, what's wrong? Unhappy with the room? Let me tell you, the price is really no choice. Housing is tight during the college entrance exams, late even. This won't be available. I won't book this room. I looked up, my gaze calmly at Zhang Taijun, then turned to Liu Yumei. I won't stay in this room, nor do I need to book my share. What did you say? Liu Yumei's voice instantly rose, attracting the side glances of several other candidates and parents also coming to book rooms. Lin Yansui, are you crazy? Where to stay during the college entrance exams? It's this room, 99 yuan. You're still picky, I tell you. You'll stay in this room today. Whether you like it or not, I won't stay, I repeated, my tone unyielding. It's next to the night market. It will definitely be noisy at night. Can't rest. If you don't rest well during the college entrance exams, how can you do well? I didn't have the experience of a past life, only mentioned the problems I could see right now. The hotel is located next to a lively snack street, where vendors have already started setting up their stalls. The smell of oil and the noise are coming over, and it's obvious that this place is not suitable for high school entrance exam candidates to stay. Zhang Tiejuan's face was a bit embarrassed, and he rubbed his hands together, trying to defend himself. Little girl, you can't say that. The night market closes at 10 o'clock, and it's not noisy at all. My room is cheap, but it's very clean. Many candidates stay here. The market closes at 10, but it takes more than an hour to clear the stalls, plus the passers-by. It won't be quiet until at least 11 o'clock, I reasoned clearly, glancing at the windows of the hotel. Moreover, this window doesn't seem to be soundproof. I can hear the people next door talking. I need a room where I can rest quietly, and this place won't do. Liu Yumei was so angry that her face turned pale, and she reached out to pull my arm, but I dodged to the side. She was even angrier, her voice shrill. Lin Yanxi, are you doing this on purpose? Do you just want to waste money? I'll tell you, there isn't enough money in the family for you to stay in a nice hotel. You'll just have to make do with this place, or you can find somewhere else to stay yourself. I'll find somewhere else to stay. You don't have to worry about me. I looked at her, and my heart was completely unmoved. In my past life, I had been controlled by her with those words, afraid of not having anywhere to stay, and had to endure it, ultimately ending up in such a state. This lifetime, I would not compromise again. Lin Yuyao fanned the flames from the side, pulling on her mother's arm and cooing, "Mom, don't be angry, my sister is just spoiled. How many considerations are there for the college entrance exam? Just make do for a couple of nights, don't let her mess up our room booking." Lin Jiangwo finally looked up and sighed, his tone somewhat perfunctory. "Yancy, listen to your mother's advice, just stay here, it's cheaper and closer, don't throw a tantrum. The college entrance exam is important, the college entrance exam is important, that's why we can't stay here." I looked at him, my tone tinged with a slight, unnoticeable disappointment. "Dad, I only have this one college entrance exam, I want to stay somewhere I can rest well. Is that wrong?" People around us started whispering, some looking at Lu Yume with expressions of confusion, while others murmured, "This mother is too biased. It's true that rest is important for the exam, but maybe the discounted room isn't a good idea." Zhang Tiejuan's smile completely disappeared. He glanced at Lu Yume and then at me, his tone becoming impatient. "Big sister, does your child mean they won't stay? If they won't, I'll give the room to someone else. There are people waiting behind." Lu Yume glared at me fiercely, then looked around at the surrounding gazes. Feeling a bit embarrassed, she gritted her teeth and said, "Book it." "Why wouldn't I book it? I'll book 2 rooms, and if she doesn't want to stay, that's fine, it's not my money being wasted. Anyway, I don't want to book. And you don't need to book for me." I stepped forward to block Lu Yume and addressed Feng Taijun. "Sir, I'm sorry, please don't book for me, just book for the mother and daughter, you can cancel my reservation." "Lin Yancy, you're rebelling." Lu Yume was furious and trembling all over. She tried to hit me, but was stopped by Lin Jiangwo. Lin Jiangwo pulled Lu Yume aside and whispered, all right, don't cause a scene here, let her be, if she doesn't want to stay, don't force her, let her figure it out herself." Lu Yume angrily shook off his hand and glared at me. "Fine, that's just great, you figure it out yourself. If you mess up the college entrance exam, don't blame us for not looking after you." I didn't respond to her, but just nodded at Zhang Taijun. "Thank you, boss." Zhang Taijun snorted and muttered, "These little girls today are so difficult to deal with," then took out the registration book, only registered Lu Yume and Lin Yuyao's information, collected the money, and handed them the keys. Lu Yume took the keys, pulled Lin Yuyao towards the inn, and before leaving, she gave me a fierce glare. "We're going up first, you figure it out yourself." Lin Jiangwo looked at me, hesitated to speak, but eventually sighed and followed them. The people around gradually dispersed, and some passing by couldn't help but glance at me twice. I stood there looking at the inn's entrance, feeling a sense of relief. The first step is done. I cancelled the discounted apartment that ruined my previous life and avoided the first trap. But I know this is just the beginning. Lu Yume and Lin Yuyao won't let me go so easily. They schemed against me not just to save money, but more to ensure my failure in the college entrance exam so they could leave all the family resources for Lin Yuyao. In my previous life, they were like this. After my college entrance exam failure, they forced me to go out to work, supporting Lin Yuyao's studies and shopping, treating me as their ATM. I touched the old key phone in my pocket. It was the one I secretly hid in my previous life, and it came back with me after I was reborn. The phone is very old, the screen is a bit blurry, and the keys are not very sensitive, but I know, it is my only hope. Su Qingyu, the only person who was willing to help me in my previous life. Now I need to find a quiet place to wait for the late night, wait until Lu Yume and Lin Yuyao are asleep, then sneak away and dial the phone that will change my fate. I didn't leave the vicinity of the hotel but found a bench at a street corner to sit, pretending to rest while actually observing the hotel's activities. I knew Lu Yume would definitely be secretly watching me to see if I could really find a place to stay and if I was deliberately provoking her. I took out the review materials from my backpack and pretended to read them seriously, but I was planning the details of sneaking away late at night. The stairs of the hotel are on the side, and after 10 p.m., there's no one at the front desk. The lights in the corridor are motion activated. As long as you make a light sound, you won't be discovered. Lu Yume and Lin Yuyao live on the 2nd floor. As long as I avoid their rooms, I can leave smoothly. The sun gradually set, and the sky grew darker. The lights in the hotel turned on one by one. I saw Lu Yume's figure appear at the window on the 2nd floor, glanced over at me, and when she saw that I was still reading on the bench, she snorted and pulled the curtain shut. A cold smile curled my lips. Lu Yume, do you think I'm still the Lin Yensue from the past who could be manipulated by you, in this life? I not only want to pass the college entrance exam smoothly but also break free from your control and take back everything that belongs to me. The night grew darker, the number of pedestrians on the street gradually decreased, and the night market vendors began to pack up. The surroundings gradually became quiet. I checked the time, it was already past 11 o'clock at night. I assumed Lu Yume and Lin Yuyao must be asleep, and Lin Zhengwo, who originally slept soundly, would definitely not be awake at this hour. I put away my study materials, shouldered my backpack, and cautiously walked to the side staircase of the inn. The corridor was pitch black, with only the motion-activated lights flickering weakly when my feet landed. I took light steps, walking up one by one, and on the second floor, I could see from a distance that the door of the room where Lu Yume and Lin Yuyao lived was tightly closed. With no movement inside, I held my breath, clinging to the wall as I slowly passed by their room, making my way to the staircase. I descended step by step until I reached the first floor. In the lobby, the front desk staff was asleep at the desk, emitting a soft snore. Carefully, I pushed open the door of the inn, and a cool night breeze hit my face, finally relaxing my tense nerves. Without pausing, I quickly walked out of the inn and headed towards the street. Stopping at a quiet corner, I took out the old keypad phone from my pocket, pressed the power button, and the screen flickered weakly. There was still half the battery life left, enough for me to make a call. Taking a deep breath, my fingers trembling slightly, I dialed the number engraved in my heart, Su Qingyu's phone number from his past life. I didn't know if he was still using it, but it was my only hope. The call went through, and the dial tone was particularly clear in the silent night, each sound like a knock on my heart. I held the phone tightly, sweaty palms, silently praying that it would connect, that it would connect. The busy tone rang for a full 5 times, and my hand holding the phone was slick with cold sweat. My heart raced uncontrollably, almost leaping out of my chest. Just as I was about to give up, about to despairingly press the hang-up button, a slightly hoarse but clear male voice came through the other end of the line, carrying the languidness and confusion of being just woken up. Hello, who is this? Is this Su Qingyu? I instantly teared up, my nose tingled, and I almost cried, but I bit my lip hard, forcing myself to calm down. Now is not the time for sentimentality. I cannot expose any abnormalities or mention anything about my past life. I can only use the most restrained and sincere tone to say softly, hello, is this Su Qingyu? I am Lin Yanxi, can you help me? With something, I deliberately slowed down my speech, lowered my voice, afraid that someone in the distant hotel would hear me or that I would get too excited and say the wrong thing, revealing a flaw. The person on the other end of the phone was silent for 2 seconds, as if recalling the name. Then, his voice came again, slightly clearer and more cautious. Lin Yanxi, I seem to have some impression of you. Didn't we meet at the bookstore near the school? What do you need help with? I felt relieved in my heart, thankfully. He remembered me. In our past life, we did meet by chance at the bookstore a few times, all for buying materials for the college entrance exams. He was a few grades ahead of me and had already been admitted to the best university in the area. Occasionally, he would help younger students with difficult problems at the bookstore, and that's when I remembered him. Just because in my previous life, I was insecure and timid, I never dared to initiate a conversation with him. It wasn't until later, when I failed the exam and was in dire straits, that he happened to encounter me and offered help. It's me, we met at the bookstore, I quickly replied, trying to make my tone sound natural and urgent. Su Qingyu, I'm currently in a bit of trouble. The college entrance exam starts tomorrow, and I don't have a place to stay. Could you help me find a quiet place to stay for 2 nights? After the exam, I'll definitely find a way to repay you, even if it's a bother. I really have no other choice. I didn't go into too many details, didn't mention my family's favoritism, nor did I explain why I had nowhere to stay. One reason was to avoid saying too much and making mistakes, and the other was not to pass on negative emotions to him, nor to make him feel like I was trying to garner sympathy. I only stated the core need, being concise and sincere, which fit the state of a desperate college entrance exam candidate without seeming forced. The line went silent again, and I could hear his light breathing and the faint sound of wind in the distance. Each second of waiting felt like an eternity. I clenched my phone tightly, my nails turning white, silently praying that he would agree. This was my last resort if he refused. I didn't know where else to go. Just as I was about to break, the sound of Suchingyu's voice came through again, his tone less cautious and more warm and generous. With the college entrance exam just around the corner, how can you not have a place to stay? Don't worry, I live in a rented single room. It's not big but it's quiet, and it's not far from the exam site. It's about a 10-minute walk, and if you don't mind, you can come stay there. I felt an immense sense of relief, my tense nerves finally relaxing. Tears I had been holding back finally slid down my cheeks and landed on the phone. I quickly wiped my face with my sleeve, my voice tinged with a hint of undetectable sobs, yet still restrained. Thank you so much. Suchingyu, I'm sorry for the trouble. I promise I won't disturb you. I can sleep on the floor tonight, as long as I have a quiet place to rest and it doesn't affect my exam tomorrow. You don't need to sleep on the floor. Suchingyu smiled, the laziness in his voice completely gone, replaced by a more reliable tone. I have a foldable bed here, I'll set it up for you, just rest here. The college entrance exam is a big deal, getting enough rest is most important. It's not a trouble at all. Where are you now? I'll come to pick you up. It's not safe at night, don't wander around by yourself. His words were like a warm current, instantly flowing through my entire body. In my past life, he was always so gentle and righteous. Even if he wasn't well off himself, he was willing to lend a hand without expecting anything in return. This lifetime, I found him early. Thankfully, he's still that kind-hearted boy. I'm at the Xingxing Inn, which is the small inn at the street corner, near the exam site. I quickly gave my location, worried that he might not find it, and added, I'm wearing a white school jacket, carrying a black backpack, and waiting for you under the streetlight next to the inn. I won't wander off. Alright, I know that place. It's not far from where I'm staying. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Stand under the streetlight and don't go to any remote areas. Be careful. Suchingyu's tone was serious, with a hint of concern. By the way, have you eaten? If not, I can bring you something to eat. It's not good to be hungry late at night. I paused for a moment, surprised that he had thought of this. In my previous life, before the college entrance exam, Lu Yumei never asked if I had eaten, nor did she ever make me a hot meal. She was always busy taking care of Lin Yuya. Comparatively, Suchingyu's kindness made me feel warmer in my heart. I haven't eaten yet, thank you. Just bring something simple, don't make it too complicated, I said in a low voice, my tone full of gratitude. I'll pay you back later. It's really too much trouble. Don't keep track of it so carefully with me, Suchingyu said with a smile. It's just a meal. When your college entrance exam ends and you get a good score, that'll be the best repayment for me. Stay in place and wait for me. Don't move around. I'll be there soon. Okay, thank you, Suchingyu. I thanked him again, hung up the phone, and my palm had already sweated enough to dampen the phone's casing, but my heart felt incredibly at ease. I put away my phone, walked to the nearby streetlight, stood in the brightest spot, and stared intently in the direction Suchingyu was coming from. The night breeze was a bit cool, blowing on my face with a hint of chill, but I didn't feel cold at all, my heart full of hope and anticipation. I finally took my second step, avoiding my family's schemes and finding someone I could rely on next. I just need to rest assured, focus on the exams, and I can gradually rewrite my destiny. The waiting time seems particularly long. I carry my backpack, with my hands clasped in front of me, trying to relax. I quickly recall the key points of the college entrance exam in my mind, not daring to waste a moment. Occasionally, passers-by would cast curious glances my way, but I paid them no mind, my focus solely on waiting for Suchingyu. About 8 minutes later, an old bicycle came into view, its headlight dim, slowly making its way towards me. The rider was a tall boy, dressed in a simple white t-shirt and black sweatpants, his hair slightly disheveled, clearly having just rolled out of bed and rushed over, yet, his eyes were bright and carried a gentle warmth. It was Suchingyu. He stopped the bike, propped it up, and gave me a once-over, smiling as he said, You must be Lin Yanxi, just as I remembered, in your school uniform and backpack. I nodded, a bit awkwardly smiling back. Yes, I'm sorry to have troubled you to come all this way. Suchingyu waved it off, then handed me a cup of soy milk and 2 steamed buns from the bike's basket. Just passed by the breakfast shop and bought something hot for you to eat first to fill your stomach. Don't get hungry in the evening, we'll go back first and rest early. As we have an exam tomorrow, I took the soy milk and buns, and the warmth from my fingertips spread to my heart, making me feel warm as well. I quickly said, Thank you, I'm sorry to trouble you. What are you being polite about, Su? Qingyu smiled and pushed his bicycle. Let's go, my place is not far ahead, it's only about 10 minutes on foot, I'll push the bicycle, it won't slow us down. I nodded and walked slowly beside him. The night was very quiet, with only the sound of our footsteps and the occasional rolling of the bicycle wheels. The atmosphere was not at all awkward, but quite comfortable. After walking for about 5 minutes, Su Qingyu suddenly spoke, his tone very gentle and not at all intrusive, just casually asking, how come you don't have a place to stay? With the college entrance exam being so important, weren't your family members with you? My heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively tightened my grip on the steamed buns in my hand. I hesitated for a moment but decided not to mention my family's favoritism and calculations. Instead, I vaguely explained, there's something going on at home, and they're not available to accompany me. I had originally booked a room, but later felt it wasn't suitable and cancelled it. I couldn't find another place to stay, so I thought of asking you for help. I wasn't lying, I was just withholding some truth. It didn't reveal the secret of my rebirth, nor did it seem like I was deliberately avoiding the issue. It fit the reserved and stubborn nature of a teenage girl who didn't want others to see the flaws in her family and avoid being pitted. Su Qingyu didn't ask many questions. He simply nodded and added a bit more understanding to his tone. It's okay. Everyone encounters difficulties at times. As long as I can help, that's good. Don't think too much, rest well, and focus on the exam tomorrow. We can discuss other matters after the exam. He didn't press for more information or pry into my privacy, which made me even more grateful for his sense of propriety. When I was down and out in my previous life, the people around me either mocked me or avoided me, but he never questioned my difficulties and only silently provided help. I have always remembered this kindness. After walking for about 10 minutes, we arrived at an old residential building. Su Qingyu stopped and pointed to the upper floor. I live on the 3rd floor in a single room. Although it's small, it's very quiet. There are mostly office workers around, and there's no noise at night, which is perfect for you to rest. I nodded and followed him into the residential building. The corridor was dark without any lights. Su Qingyu took out his phone, turned on the flashlight to illuminate the path ahead, and reminded me as he walked, be careful, the stairs are a bit steep, don't fall. All right, thank you. I followed closely behind him, using the light from his phone to take each step carefully. The corridor was very quiet, with only the sound of our footsteps and breathing, completely free from any noise. Unlike the hotel near where we just were, this is a place where you can rest easy. Sitting on the 3rd floor, Su Qingyu took out his key, opened the door, and let me in. Sideways, come in, make yourself at home, I'll set up the foldable bed for you. I walked into the room and took a look. The room was indeed small, with a bed, a desk, a wardrobe, and a small balcony. It was neatly arranged, simple yet cozy, and exceptionally quiet with no noise at all. Have a seat first, and have some water. I'll get the foldable bed, Su Qingyu said, turning around and going into the balcony, quickly setting up the foldable bed, and then finding a clean blanket and pillow to put on the bed. You'll sleep here tonight. It's very comfortable and won't be uncomfortable. You can also use the desk. If you want to study, the desk lamp is reserved for you. I looked at the neatly made foldable bed, watching his busy figure. My heart was full of gratitude. My throat felt tight, and I didn't know what to say, so I could only keep saying, thank you, Su Qingyu, you've really been a big help. If it weren't for you, I really don't know what I would have done. Su Qingyu finished making the bed and turned around with a smile, saying, don't keep saying thank you, it's really not a bother. Hurry up and eat your food, then get washed up and go to bed early. I'll wake you up in the morning, take you to have breakfast, and then drop you off at the exam site, so it won't affect your exam. All right, I'll do whatever you say. I nodded, picked up the soy milk and dumplings in my hand, and slowly started eating. The warm soy milk and dumplings dispelled the chill from my body and also warmed my cold heart. This night, I finally didn't have to worry about the noisy sounds, didn't have to be schemed against by my family, and didn't have to be anxious. With Su Qingyu's help, I'm certain I can rest well, perform at my best tomorrow, avoid the regrets of my past life, and take a crucial step in changing my destiny. After eating, I cleaned up and lay down on the foldable bed. The room was unusually quiet, with only the occasional soft breeze from outside. I closed my eyes, and my mind was no longer filled with the suffering and despair of my previous life, but with expectations and dreams for the future. Su Qingyu sat in front of his desk, without turning on the light, quietly reading a book by the moonlight outside the window, making no sound, afraid of disturbing me. I looked at his figure and silently vowed in my heart that in this life, I would not only get into a good university but also properly repay Su Qingyu's kindness, and more importantly, break free from my family's control and live my own life. In a daze, I gradually fell asleep. This was the most peaceful and sound sleep I had had before the college entrance examination in my previous life. Just as dawn was breaking, I naturally woke up. Without the noise of the night market or the distractions from the neighbors, I had slept soundly all night, and my mind was unusually clear. Su Qingyu was still sleeping in his own bed, breathing evenly, clearly having not slept well after being woken up suddenly the night before. I carefully sat up, afraid of waking him, slowly packed my things, and folded the blanket neatly. Just finished tidying up, Su Qingyu also woke up. He rubbed his eyes and sat up to check the time. Still early, no rush. I'll take you for some breakfast before we go to the exam hall. I nodded and didn't say much, trying not to cause him any extra trouble. When going downstairs, he casually asked, "Did you rest well last night? Did you find it noisy?" "Extremely quiet, slept very well," I said sincerely. He smiled. "That's fine, as long as it doesn't affect the exam." The breakfast shop on the street was already open. With steam rising, Su Qingyu ordered 2 bowls of congee, a steamed bun, and 2 tea eggs, pushing them towards me. "Eat more, it's a mental exam in the morning, you can't go on an empty stomach." Holding the warm congee, my mind felt incredibly at ease. On this day in my previous life, I starved in a noisy hotel until dawn, feeling dizzy and unable to hold a pen properly. Halfway through eating, my keypad phone suddenly vibrated. It was a text message. I took it out and saw it was from Lu Yumei, with an aggressive and mocking tone. "Where have you been? Not back all night. Are you deliberately pissing me off? I'm telling you, Lin Yansui, don't expect my help with today's exam. If you mess it up, it's all your fault." I read it expressionlessly, deleted it directly, locked the screen, and put it back in my pocket. Su Qingyu noticed my actions but didn't ask further, just whispered softly, "Don't let other things affect you. Today, you just need to focus on the exam paper." I nodded and continued eating. His sense of boundaries was always just right, neither inquiring nor probing, just giving a nudge when I needed it. After finishing breakfast, he accompanied me to the exam venue. As we walked, more and more people gathered, all candidates and parents, making noise and chatter. Some held study materials, cramming at the last minute. Some looked extremely nervous, and some were repeatedly reminded by their parents. As I approached the school gate, I immediately spotted Lu Yumei, Lin Zhengwo, and Lin Yuyao. Lu Yumei was carefully adjusting Lin Yuyao's hair and handing her water, repeatedly saying, "Don't be nervous, just perform normally. Mom will be waiting outside for you, and we'll have a nice lunch together." Lin Yuyao nodded with a spoiled expression, but her eyes suddenly caught sight of me, causing her expression to change. She pulled on Lu Yumei's sleeve. Lu Yumei followed her gaze and, upon seeing Su Qingyu beside me, her eyes turned sharp and spiteful. She scrutinized Su Qingyu from head to toe, then glared at me as if she had discovered something terrible. She strode over, her voice loud enough for those around to hear. "Lin Yanxi, you're really something. You didn't come home all night, and it turns out you were with a boy. I thought you had more backbone, but you've already found a new place to stay." The surrounding gazes snapped towards us, filled with curiosity, speculation, and a hint of schadenfreude. Lin Yuyao stood behind, a smirk playing at the corner of her lips. Lin Zhengwo frowned but remained silent, adopting a placating demeanor. I felt completely unfazed, even amused by the situation. This was a familiar pattern from my past life. She would always accuse me without cause, just to satisfy her need to control me and to present herself as a strict parent in front of others. Su Qingyu took a slight step forward, subtly shielding me from view, his tone calm and polite yet carrying an intimidating edge. "Auntie, you've misunderstood. I'm a student from the nearby university. Yesterday, she couldn't find a place to stay, so I helped her out for one night to make it easier for her to take her exam today." Lu Yumei didn't believe it at all, sneering, "Help, young people nowadays have one thing to say after another. Who knows what your relationship is? Lin Yanxi, I'm telling you, don't bring shame to the family." I finally spoke, my voice calm and clear, not loud or noisy, but each word was powerful. "First, I haven't disgraced anyone. Second, I stayed quietly last night and rested well, so I can take the exam today. Third, I didn't spend a penny from home or bother anyone, so it's none of others' business to criticize me." I paused, my gaze swept lightly over her. instead of bothering me here, you should take better care of the person you need to take care of. Don't delay her exam, a sentence that both drew a line and pointed out her bias. Without falling behind, someone around whispered, "This mother's words are too harsh, it's the college entrance exam. Saying such things is too hurtful. It's clearly her own fault for not taking care of it, yet she's blaming others." Liu Yumei's face turned red and then pale, unable to retort. She wanted to lash out but feared affecting Lin Yuyao, so she could only glare at me fiercely. "You wait, after the exam, see how I deal with you." After saying that, she pulled Lin Yuyao and turned to leave, not forgetting to give Su Qingyu a vicious glare before she left. After they were gone, Su Qingyu turned his head to look at me, and whispered, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." I shook my head. "I'm used to it." He didn't ask further, just softly said, "Don't take it to heart, focus on the exam. Your performance is more important than anything." The gatekeeper began to allow students to enter. I held my admission ticket and ID in my hand, and said to him, "Then I'll go in." "Go ahead, I'll wait for you here at noon, and take you to eat and rest." I nodded and turned to walk into the crowd. Upon entering the examination hall, I found my seat and sat down. Taking a deep breath, I surveyed the unfamiliar classmates around me. Some were visibly nervous, with sweaty palms, while others were still flipping through their notes. I took out my pen, arranged it neatly, closed my eyes, and quickly reviewed the key knowledge points in my mind. There was no fatigue, no irritation, and no persistent drowsiness or anxiety from my past life. What had destroyed me was never the difficulty of the exam questions, but rather the lack of rest, the breakdown of my mental state, and the constant pressure from my family. This time, I had slept enough, my mind was calm, and I felt confident. When the exam papers were handed out, my fingertips remained steady, with not a hint of trembling. Skimming through the questions, most were within my familiar scope, and even a few were strikingly similar to the question types I remembered from my previous life. Gripping my pen, I started from the first question and proceeded step by step. My thinking is clear, and my logic flows smoothly. Although my writing speed was not fast, each step was steady. When encountering slightly challenging questions, I remain unfazed, skipping them to tackle easier ones first. The entire examination hall is filled with the soft rustling of pen tips on paper, creating an atmosphere of tranquility that is oddly reassuring. I understand that since I cancelled that 99 yuan discounted room, I have already secured the first victory. Now, I am winning the second step. During the mid-break, I rest my head on the desk, closing my eyes to recharge. My mind is free from thoughts of family or grievances, solely focused on organizing the subjects for the afternoon exam. Su Qingyu's arrival was like a stabilizing force, completely calming my nerves. He did not inquire about the state of my family, nor did he offer sympathy or pity. Instead, he simply helped me address the most critical issues: rest, meals, and safety. This unburdened kindness is more effective than any form of consolation. As the morning exam concluded, I calmly set down my pen, meticulously reviewing the answer sheet one last time before rising to submit my paper and exit the examination hall. I saw Su Qingyu standing under a tree waiting for me from a distance. He was holding a bottle of water and waved at me gently when he saw me. Sunlight fell on him, gentle and clean. I quickened my pace towards him, and for the first time, I felt a real sense of difference in my life. When Su Qingyu saw me come out of the exam hall, his eyebrows and eyes visibly relaxed, and he quickly walked up to me, handing me the water. "How did you do on the exam? You look pretty good." I unscrewed the cap and took a sip. The cool water slid down my throat, making me feel refreshed. It went smoothly. Most of the questions were within the scope of our review, and I performed better than expected. There was no exaggeration. Don't be deliberately modest. This was my most genuine state. The state of being dragged down by insomnia and anxiety from my previous life had completely disappeared. At this moment, I was clear-headed and stable in my mind's steady output in every exam. He nodded with a smile. That's the right attitude. The key to the college entrance exam is mindset. There's a light, casual restaurant nearby, perfect for lunch. It's not greasy and won't make you sleepy. I'll take you there. I followed him, but just a few steps later, I was called back by a sharp voice. "Lin Yensui, stop right there." Liu Yumei, with Lin Yuyao and Lin Zhengwo, hurriedly caught up. Their faces extremely unpleasant. Clearly, they'd been waiting outside the exam hall for a long time, just hoping to block me. Lin Yuyao followed behind, a defiant look on her lips, probably because she didn't feel superior during the morning exam and was holding a grudge. Lu Yume rushed straight toward me, ignoring the candidate and parents passing by, and started scolding me, pointing at me. "You're really something, leaving straight for the boys after the morning exam without even going home. Do you even have me as a mother? I think you didn't come to take the exam at all, but to loaf around." Immediately, people stopped to watch and whispered among themselves. In my past life, she would have already made me at a loss for words, with tears in my eyes, but now I just find it annoying and don't even bother to give any extra emotions. Lin Jiangwo pulled at Lu Yume's arm beside him. "Don't argue here. So many people are watching. It's not good, not good." Lu Yume shook off his hand, her anger growing. "She dares to run around with a strange man. Does she know shame? Today I'm going to tell her off. Let everyone see what kind of person she is." Lin Yuyao added fuel to the fire at the right moment. "Mom, don't be angry, my sister was likely just momentarily confused. After all, the pressure of the college entrance exams is immense, but even so, she really shouldn't have acted this way. If word gets out, people will make a laughingstock of our family." On the surface, these words seemed intended to mediate and reconcile. In reality, however, every single sentence served to cement the accusations that I was immature and lacked self-respect. I coldly raised my eyes to look at Lu Yume. "Firstly, he is not a strange man. He is the senior who helped me with my questions at the bookstore before. He was just kind enough to help me solve the accommodation problem so that I wouldn't be disturbed and could rest well for the exam. Secondly, I wasn't messing around. All my time was spent preparing for the exam, much more focused than some people who only think about comparing and causing trouble. Thirdly, if you truly cared about my exam, you wouldn't have insisted on booking the noisy discounted room yesterday, and you wouldn't have lied in front of the exam venue today." A few clear and calm words directly exposed her hypocrisy. The surrounding discussions immediately changed direction. So it was the mother who booked the noisy room that couldn't rest in. No wonder the child had to find a place on their own. The mother is biased and then blames the child. That's too much. With such a big exam, not caring about accommodation and then blaming the child. How shameless. Her face turned green and then white, and she was speechless, but she refused to admit defeat, shouting at me, "Isn't it saving money? Don't you know what the family conditions are like? I'm not doing this for the family's sake. You could have found a quiet, affordable place to stay earlier, instead of knowing it's noisy and forcing me to live there." My tone was calm, but each word was powerful. "You're not doing this for the family, you just don't want to spend more time on me, since your mind is on someone else." I didn't name names, but everyone present could tell that I was referring to someone in particular. Lin Yuyao's face turned red instantly, biting her lip and lowering her head, too afraid to continue the conversation. Su Qingyu took a step forward, blocking me from the side, his tone polite yet with an unquestionable aura. "Auntie, this is a critical period for the college entrance exam. Arguing won't solve anything. It will only affect her afternoon exam. If you truly care about her, it would be better to let her eat and rest in peace. We can discuss everything after the exam." His words were reasonable, and others nodded in agreement. Lu Yume felt uncomfortable under everyone's gaze. Continuing the argument would only make things worse, so she could only glare at me fiercely. "Fine, I won't argue with you. After the exam, we'll settle this at home." With that, she dragged Lin Yuyao away. Lin Jiangwo sighed and gave me a complex look before quickly following them. The commotion settled down, and people gradually dispersed. Su Qingyu looked at me and softly asked, "Are you okay? Shall we go to a place farther away for lunch?" "No need, let's go to the one you mentioned." I shook my head, feeling completely unfazed. "They're just like that, all talk and no action. It doesn't affect me." He smiled and didn't say more, leading me towards the restaurant. The lunch was light, with one meat dish, one vegetable dish, and one soup, just enough to eat without wasting anything. Su Qingyu didn't bring up my family situation again during the meal. Instead, he occasionally chatted with me about light-hearted, exam-related topics to help soothe my nerves. "You have the comprehensive exam this afternoon. The scope of the questions is broad, so don't panic. Tackle the sections you're good at first. If you come across a question you're unsure about, don't get bogged down in it, just mark it and come back to it at the end. Time management is key." Drawing on his own experience, he shared several practical exam strategies with me, not in a preachy way, but as sincere, helpful reminders. I listened attentively, taking his advice to heart. These details were something no one taught me in a past life. After finishing the meal, he took me back to his rented place. The room remained quiet, with sunlight streaming in through the windows, creating a warm atmosphere. You can lie down on the bed for a short nap, and I'll read at the desk without disturbing you, he said, tidying up the bed. No need, I'll just sleep on the fold-out bed. And you should rest too, I quickly replied. I don't have any exams in the morning, so I'm not tired. You can rest peacefully, and I'll wake you up in 40 minutes, guaranteed not to delay the afternoon session. His tone was firm, leaving no room for refusal. I no longer hesitated, lay down on the bed, closed my eyes, and without any noise or distractions, quickly entered a light sleep state. This brief nap made my energy even more abundant in the afternoon. 40 minutes later, Suching woke me up on time. I washed up, cleared my head, put on my school bag, and headed to the exam site with him. On the way, he repeatedly reminded me, "Don't worry, just perform normally." Before entering the exam hall, I glanced back and saw him standing in the shade of a tree, giving me a thumbs-up gesture. At that moment, I felt a surge of confidence. The afternoon exam went smoothly as well. The comprehensive subject had a large number of questions, but I had a clear plan and a reasonable time allocation. I confidently answered the questions I knew and tried my best to write down the steps for the ones I didn't. Throughout the entire exam, I remained calm and composed, without any panic or mistakes, which was 100 times better than my previous state. After the exam, there were many parents gathered outside the exam hall. I immediately spotted Suchengyu, who was still standing in the same place waiting for me, holding a bottle of ice-cold mineral water. In the distance, Lu Yumei's family had a gloomy expression, looking at me with resentment in their eyes. However, due to the presence of many people around, they dared not cause any more trouble. I ignored them and walked straight towards Suchengyu. "It's over. How do you feel?" he asked with a smile, handing me the water. I took the water, and a relaxed smile finally touched my lips. Very stable, all subjects performed normally, no regrets. The 2-day college entrance exam had come to an end. From the moment I cancelled the 99 yuan special room, to now finally placing the key piece, the nightmare from my past life had been completely severed by me. At the moment the final bell of the college entrance exam rang, I closed the pen cap, experiencing for the first time what it meant to have everything settled and a sense of certainty in my heart. Walking out of the exam hall, the sunset dyed the entire street in a warm yellow. Suchengyu was still waiting at the usual spot. Seeing me leave the exam hall, his eyes gently curved. "Finally over. Should I take you back to the hotel to get your things, or go straight to my place?" I glanced to the side, and saw Lu Yumei and her family of 3 standing under the tree, their expressions unpleasant, obviously wanting to talk to me. I averted my gaze, my tone calm. "First, let me get my backpack and materials, and I'll leave right after." He nodded silently as he accompanied me towards the Xingsheng Inn. Just as we reached the inn's entrance, Lu Yumei quickly approached us. At that moment, only a few parents of the examinees were left around. Her tone was filled with dissatisfaction. "Lin Yanxi, where have you been these past 2 days? Following some outsider around every day, not even informing the family. Is that appropriate?" Lin Yuyao leaned against her, her tone carrying a hint of grievance. "Mom, I've been worried about you these past 2 days and haven't slept much. Even if you're upset, don't make the family worry." Lin Zhengwo frowned, his tone serious. "Yanxi, what exactly happened these past 2 days? Explain it to the family clearly." I looked at the 3 people in front of me, feeling both unfamiliar and helpless. The so-called concern was nothing more than criticism and harassment at the examination gate. When had they ever truly asked me if the exam was tiring or if I could rest properly? My tone was calm and my words clear. "There's nothing more to say. I simply moved out of a room that was too noisy to rest in and found a place where I can study properly." "Noisy? I think you're just making excuses." Lu Yumei raised her voice. "Why can't you stay in a 99 yuan room? Other kids can adapt, but you're special. I think you're getting too big for your britches and don't want to listen to your family. Other parents wouldn't knowingly book a room next to a noisy night market near the exam site." I glanced at her with a calm gaze. Other parents don't talk about their financial struggles while booking top-notch hotels for themselves and their younger daughters. If you truly want to save money, you could share a room with 3 people, instead of leaving the worst one for me. Upon hearing this, Lu Yumei's face froze. Unprepared for me to be so direct, Lin Yuyao paled and quickly tugged at her mother's arm. Mom, sis just finished her exams. Let's not argue with her. I shook my head gently, my tone cool. You have no say in this. You've had a good time eating and staying here these past 2 days, undisturbed, while I simply took all my exams in a quiet place. Lu Yumei, feeling flustered, raised her hand to approach, but Su Qingyu quickly stepped in to block her, his polite yet firm voice saying, "Auntie, the exams are over. Let's talk things through calmly. Resorting to violence won't solve anything. What right do you have to interfere in our family matters?" Lu Yumei retorted impatiently. "I've helped her." Su Qingyu looked calm. "She's been staying with me for the past 2 days, quietly reviewing and successfully taking the exam without any delays or causing any shame to anyone." The few candidates who hadn't checked out and the innkeeper, Zhang Taijun, all poked their heads out, their expressions showing understanding. Who is right and who is wrong is clear to everyone. Lu Yumei felt her face was lost and threatened. "Fine, you wait. Once the results come out, I'll see how you perform. You'll regret it then." "I won't regret it." I looked at her, my tone firm. "Not now, not ever." After saying that, I turned around and walked into the inn, going upstairs to retrieve my backpack and study materials. It didn't take long, just a few minutes to pack everything up. Walking downstairs, the family of 3 was still standing in the same place, their expressions still grim. I walked past them as if they were strangers. Outside the hotel, the evening breeze was cool and refreshing. Su Qingyu accompanied me as we slowly walked, softly asking, "What are you planning to do next? Go home or not?" I answered without hesitation, "I'll wait for the results to come out, fill out my college entrance application, and then leave directly." He paused for a moment, then nodded, his eyes showing a bit more approval. "That's a good idea. Relax for a few days first. Don't think about those annoying things. Before the results come out, you can stay at my place. It won't be a bother." My heart warmed, but I shook my head gently. "I don't want to keep bothering you. I can find a temporary job to earn some living expenses and gradually become independent. In my previous life, I was controlled by my family because I always relied on them. In this life, from the moment I finished the college entrance exam, I will completely achieve economic independence and no longer be controlled by anyone." I looked at me for a while and smiled. "You are more determined than I imagined. That's good. If you need any help, just let me know." In the following days, I found a part-time job as a bookstore clerk nearby. The work was not too heavy, and I could read books during my spare time. The income was enough to cover my daily expenses. I didn't contact my family again. Lu Yumei called a few times, full of accusations, so I blocked her number. During the waiting period for the results, I lived a calm and fulfilling life. Sometimes Su Qingyu would come to see me, bring me some food, and sometimes accompany me to chat, talk about university life, and discuss future plans. He never asked me about my family matters, only appeared when I needed him, and always kept the right distance. On the day the results were announced, I checked my scores at the internet cafe. When the numbers on the screen appeared, I took a deep breath. The score was far above the top line, enough to get into the university I dreamed of, and even choose the best major. My score this time is nearly 200 points higher than the one destroyed by noise in my previous life. Holding the score slip, I felt no wild joy but a heavy sense of relief. I had really done it, truly freed myself from the regrets of my past life. I immediately told Su Qingyu about my score, and his tone was full of happiness. "I knew you could do it. Congratulations on finally getting what you wanted." Not long after, my family also learned of my score. Lu Yumei called me several times, changing from initial anger to disbelief, and finally even pleading, "Yan Xi, it's Mom's fault. I shouldn't have treated you that way. You did so well. It's really a credit to the family. The tuition fees will be paid by the family. Come back, let's discuss filling out the application forms together." Listening to her false tone, I only felt uncomfortable. "No need. I'll earn the tuition fees myself. I'll fill out the application forms myself. My life from now on will be my own decision. You don't need to call me again." Then, I hung up the phone directly and blocked all contact information at home. The chains that had trapped me for half my life in my previous life shattered completely at this moment. On the day I filled out the college application, I didn't hesitate to choose the distant university, majoring in the field I had always been passionate about. Although the city was unfamiliar, it was full of hope. Before the semester started, Su Qingyu came to see me off, bought snacks for the journey, and repeatedly reminded me to take care of myself. "I'll visit you when I have time." He smiled. I nodded and sincerely thanked him. Thank you so much for everything. Without you, I might not have made it to today. No need to thank me. He looked at me, his gaze earnest. It was your own clarity and determination that allowed you to seize your own opportunity. You deserve a better life. The train slowly began to move, and I looked out the window at the scenery rushing past, my heart bright with clarity. The road ahead, I would walk step by step toward the future that belonged to me. What are your thoughts after hearing this story? Feel free to share your feelings in the comments below. We'll start a new story. In the laboratory, a faint ozone smell and the scent of burnt coffee beans hung in the air. This was the most familiar scent to me. Chin Chin, Man's USB drive might be broken. She needs to meet Professor Hua this afternoon. Can you lend her your code to reference the idea? This voice slithered into my ear, causing me to abruptly open my eyes. Shin Shuyuan was standing beside my workstation, leaning on the marble countertop, his refined and scholarly face carrying an air of self-assured gentleness. Behind him, Lin Man clutched her sleeve nervously, her eyes slightly red, resembling a tender flower swaying in the wind. I stared at the time in the bottom right corner of my computer screen. 1:15 p.m. on May 14, 2024, my heart pounded fiercely. I had returned, back to the turning point of all tragedies, the previous moment. Shin Shuyuan had already swiftly copied the folder named Data Simulation from my computer to Lin Man's USB drive while I was away at the tea room. Now he stands here, not seeking my consent, but trying to patch up his theft by morally blackmailing me into silence. Borrow. I slowly turned my head, and an arc I never showed Gong Shuyuan before curled up at the corner of my mouth. Xin, what's wrong with you? Gong Shuyuan frowned slightly, leaning forward, trying to use his usual intimate posture to pressure me. Lin Man's quota for postgraduate admission is just a step away. You are already the top candidate for the recommendation. This algorithm is just a handy task for you, but for her, it's a life-saving straw. Lin Man stepped forward timely, her voice soft and weak. Xin sis, I know it's not appropriate, but I really have no other way. Brother said that your logic is the best in the department. I just want to see how you set the parameters for protein folding. I glanced down at her hand, where a U-disc was tightly clutched, containing the core results of my 2 years of deduction, with logic that was airtight. All right, then let it begin from this moment. For the logic to crumble, I ignored Lin Man and looked directly at my childhood friend, whom I had loved for 20 years. Shin Shuyuan, are you sure she can save lives by taking this? Of course, don't I know your abilities? Shin Shuyuan let out a sigh of relief, thinking I was going to compromise like before. I knew that Chin was the most reasonable. Fine. I typed furiously on the mechanical keyboard in front of them, the crisp clicking sounds echoing in the quiet laboratory. I opened the local original folder, and Shin Shuyuan's eyes were fixed on the screen, where his long-desired fame and fortune awaited. I selected the mother file named final_core, then right-clicked to delete it. What are you doing? Shin Shuyuan exclaimed, instinctively reaching out to stop me, but I nimbly sidestepped. I didn't stop, immediately opening the recycle bin. Chin, are you crazy? Shin Shuyuan's voice rose an octave, waking up the other few classmates napping in the lab, who all looked up. The system is reporting an error. I calmly stared at the screen, my tone as steady as if I were commenting on the weather forecast. Just now, when Lin Man plugged and unplugged the USB drive, she might have caused a static electricity spike, leading to logical damage in my original sector. If I don't clear it completely, the entire hard drive will crash. Lin Man stood frozen, her face pale. I didn't look. I pointed at the progress bar flashing across the screen. It wasn't an error report, but a script I had manually written to forcefully shred the files. I mentally calculated the logic as I operated. The one in Lin Man's USB drive was a deliberately modified error branch I had created half an hour ago for testing reverse suppression. That branch would show an astonishing perfect fit in the first 1,000 generations of calculations. But once it entered the 1,001st generation, the logic would fall into a dead loop, causing the hardware to overheat or even break down. It was the poisoned apple of academia. It's clean now. I pressed the last button, and the screen showed 498 GB per 500 GB of available disk space. I turned around, smiling brightly and innocently. Shuyuan, it seems that Man took the last backup in this world. You should help her study it well. After all, my computer has nothing left now. Shin Shuyuan's face changed in an instant. First, there was a flash of disbelief in his eyes, then joy, and finally a hypocritical solemnity. He was overjoyed that from now on, this achievement would only belong to Lin Man in a physical sense. He was solemn about having to perform well in this consoling play for me. How could this happen? He sighed faintly, placing his hand on my shoulder, earnestly. Chin Chin, don't be sad, since there's still one copy at Man Man's place. Wait until she sorts it out, and I'll ask her to give you a thank you spot. A thank you spot. I raised my eyebrows, suppressing the nausea churning in my stomach. That really thanks you. Lin Man had also come to her senses by then, tightly clutching the USB drive, as if it were a ticket to heaven. She looked at me, a subtle hint of pride flashing in her eyes, but still pretending to be aggrieved. Chin Chin sister, I'm sorry, I didn't know I would cause you to lose the files. I will definitely find a way to make it up after I meet with my advisor this afternoon. No need to make it up. I got up and started packing my bag slowly. There's a small detail in that code that I haven't had time to fix yet. Since you think it's your lifeline, I wish you a smooth afternoon. Shin Shuyuan caught the words small detail and asked, what detail? Is it complicated? I picked up my bag and walked towards the laboratory door, turning back to give him a gentle smile. It's not complicated. As long as Lin Man can understand the core of that algorithm, I can fix it in 5 minutes. If she can't understand it, it might take a lifetime to fix. After saying that, I walked out of the laboratory without looking back. The sunlight pierced my eyes, and I took a deep breath of the air, which carried the scent of freedom. Lin Man couldn't understand my code at all. She was just a mediocre student who relied on Shin Shuyuan to help her with her homework and repair her academic credits to barely make it this far. As for Shin Shuyuan, although he had some talent, he was too ambitious. He would definitely want to showcase his erudition by personally editing that poisoned apple code for Lin Man. I didn't go straight back to the dormitory but instead took a detour to the coffee shop behind the school. I opened my lightweight laptop, connected to the campus network, and logged into an extremely obscure academic forum. In a discussion group called LGraph, I uploaded an encrypted logical demonstration video, with the timestamp showing it was uploaded on May 14, 2024, at 14:05. This video does not contain any core formulas. It only presents a logical deduction process that proves the inevitability of protein folding under certain specific conditions. This is my evidence vault. Previously, they accused me of plagiarism, saying I fabricated data out of jealousy towards Lin Man. This time, I want the whole world to see who is picking up rotten fruit from the ground and presenting it as a treasure in broad daylight. 2 hours later, Shin Shuyuan sent me a WeChat message. Chin Chin, Man has already talked to Professor Hua, and the professor is very satisfied, saying this is the most promising direction this year. Man wants to invite you to dinner to apologize in person, at that Western restaurant near the school gate. I looked at the screen and sneered. Satisfied, of course satisfied. Professor Wei Yunting is notorious for being an academic maniac, and seeing such a groundbreaking algorithmic concept, of course, he would be excited, but he is also infamous for not tolerating any flaws. I replied, sure, I'll be on time. After hanging up the phone, I looked out the window. Shin Shuyuan and Lin Man, the masquerade party for academic geniuses has just begun. The lights in the Western restaurant swayed, and the aroma of the steak couldn't mask the undisguised elation of the two people opposite me. Shin Shuyuan personally pulled out a chair for me, his movements excessively gentlemanly, and even thoughtfully handed me a glass of warm water. Chin Chin, thank you for your hard work today. This afternoon, Man was in Professor Hua's office, and the professor actually gave her a verbal promise of guaranteed admission to graduate school on the spot. All thanks to you. Lin Man sat opposite me, holding her water glass in both hands, her face still flushed with a flattered blush. Sister Chin Chin, Professor Hua said my thinking is very advanced, but he asked a few questions about the local convergence after the first 1,000 generations, and I was too nervous to understand them well at the time. If you have time, could you help me clarify them? I cut a small piece of steak and chewed it slowly. The first step of the logical trap had worked. Wei Yunjin was a top scientist, and he could immediately see the essence of the algorithm, but the questions he asked were precisely the fuse I had buried before the 1,000 first-generation logic dead loop. Man, you've shown it to the professor, so how come you still don't understand the logic? I put down my fork and looked at her calmly. Lin Man smiled awkwardly and looked to Shin Shuyuan for help. Shin Shuyuan immediately took over. Oh, Qin, you know Man mainly works on experimental data. Her algorithm derivation is indeed not as good as yours. Professor Hua said that if this idea could be improved, Man would have a good chance of winning the top prize in the national finals of the Youth Innovation Competition next month. That spot is really important to her. He paused for a moment, his tone becoming gentler, with an unquestionable guidance. Since you've lost all your original data, it's too late to rewrite it. Why don't you act as Man's technical consultant and help her smooth out the last bit of logic? When Man wins the award, not only will her postgraduate enrollment be secured, but she will also be able to apply for a large sum of research funds. We three can work together on the subsequent development. Isn't that good? He was painting a big picture, using my mistake leading to data loss as an excuse to transfer the results of my labor permanently to Man. And then continue to exploit my value in the name of three-person team. I smiled and lightly tapped the table with my fingertips. If we really win the grand prize, the funds indeed won't be small. But Xin Shuyuan, that's an algorithm, not a puzzle. If Man can't even explain the logic of the 1000th generation clearly, how can she pass the defense? You should know that Professor Hua hates being evasive. Xin Shuyuan's eyes flickered, clearly indicating that he had privately studied the code in the afternoon and discovered its complexity far exceeded his expectations. So, I'm not asking you to come, am I? Xin Shuyuan lowered his voice and leaned forward, appearing particularly sincere. Qin, help her straighten out the logic of that dead loop. Man said she's willing to put your name as the second author on her thesis. This is the second author of the National Special Prize, which will also help you in your future pursuit of further studies abroad. Second author, I pretended to ponder, my brow slightly furrowed. Man hurriedly added, Sister Qin, if you feel that's not enough, I'll give you all my bonuses. I just want that postgraduate enrollment quota. She was so humble, yet her greed was so great. The problem with the dead loop was actually because I had added an adaptive correction in the parameters at that time. I picked up the napkin and wiped my mouth, my tone softening. I can help you fix it, but Xin Shuyuan, you know my rule, I don't like half-finished work. If we're going to fix it, we need to start from scratch on some parts. No problem, tell me how to change it. Man will listen to you. Xin Shuyuan was overjoyed, thinking he had control of the situation, but unaware that I was leading them into a dead end. I was giving them their second poison, the false convergence model. This model would produce incredibly beautiful, near-perfect curves in computer simulations, enough to fool most domestic experts. However, it had a fatal logical flaw. It violated the microscopic interpretation of the second law of thermodynamics. In simple terms, this thing is perfect in the computer, but once you put it into a lab for protein crystallization experiments, the results will always fail. In academia, faking data that seems perfect but violates physical laws is called academic fraud. Go back to the lab tonight. I stood up, looking calm. Man will bring your computer, Xin Shuyuan, since you want to help her, tonight. You're responsible for reviewing the mathematical modeling part, and I'll handle the logical framework. In this way, this paper will be the result of your and Man's joint efforts. I deliberately emphasized joint efforts, ensuring that their two names would be inextricably linked to this time bomb. Xin Shuyuan didn't catch the deeper meaning in my words. Instead, he thought I was giving him a chance to get closer to Man, even feeling a bit grateful for my generosity. All right, Qin. You've really grown more considerate. When we returned to the lab, it was already 9 p.m. The dark blue monitor screen reflected their excited faces. I sat at the main control position, my fingers moving rapidly, typing line after line of seemingly profound yet absurd code into the compiler. Look here, I pointed to a complex integral formula on the screen. This is my new compensation algorithm. It can perfectly solve the dead loop in the 1001st generation and increase the convergence speed by 40%. Xin Shuyuan pushed up his glasses and stared at the formula for half the day. With his mathematical foundation, he could see the formula derivation was extremely ingenious, but he couldn't spot the symbol error I had cleverly hidden within the Lagrange constant. Genius, Qin, you're really a genius, Xin Shuyuan exclaimed sincerely, his eyes gleaming with greed, but also flashing a hint of envy. Man was busy taking notes. Even though she didn't understand it, she knew these things could secure her future. Done. I pushed away from the keyboard, rubbing my wrist. The rest of the numerical calculations and chart generation, Xin Shuyuan, you handle it. I want to go back and rest. Don't worry, I've got this. Shin Shuyuan eagerly took my seat. I walked to the door, suddenly pausing, and glanced back at the brightly lit laboratory. Shin Shuyuan was focused on the screen, Lin Man standing behind him with her hand on his shoulder, both of them whispering together. Their silhouettes looking like they were in perfect harmony. By the way, Man, I whispered. Lin Man looked up. What's wrong, Qin sister? When do you plan to submit this paper to the Qingchuan competition? Brother Xiao Yuan said he will submit the preliminary materials as soon as possible tomorrow, so we can catch the first batch of expert reviews. Lin Man smiled sweetly. That's good. I nodded and closed the lab door, submitting it tomorrow morning, as long as the document with Shin Shuyuan's review signature and Lin Man's primary authorship is submitted. It will become an unchangeable official document, permanently stored on the competition committee's server, and I, too, will need to prepare my real thing. Back in the dorm, I turned on my computer and logged into the international preprint platform AR14. I wrote the truly groundbreaking research I had refined in the cafe that afternoon as a short note in full English, titled A New Paradigm for Protein Folding. Prediction based on nonlinear compensation, with only one name in the author field, Yu Qin. I didn't rush to upload. I was waiting for Shin Shuyuan and Lin Man to submit their masterpieces at 10:00 a.m. tomorrow morning. According to academic rules, if two papers with similar ideas appear on a preprint platform at the same time, with the exact time of submission down to the second, it is the highest court of judgment for determining the priority of publication. Shin Shuyuan, aren't you trying to get Lin Man to stay in the university? Then I'll make sure your names, starting tomorrow, are completely associated with academic fraud and attempted plagiarism. Lying in bed, listening to the wind outside, I slept unusually well that night. At 10 in the morning, the computer center, I leaned against the vending machine in the corridor, holding a can of iced coffee, my eyes gazing through the transparent glass window into the laboratory. Shin Shuyuan was bent over, teaching Lin Man step by step to click the upload button on the official system of the Youth Innovation Contest. After confirming the submission dialog box popped up, Shin Shuyuan smiled at Lin Man, who pressed the mouse with eyes full of admiration. I looked at my watch. 10:00:15. I took out my phone, quickly clicked the submit button on the AR14 platform. The screen jumped. Submission successful. Timestamp, May 15, 2024 10:00:20 UTC, 5 seconds late. These 5 seconds were the preemptive feeling I gave them. Qin, it's done. Shin Shuyuan pushed the door out, looking relieved, even with a hint of triumph. Just now the submission went very smoothly. Man's ranking is stable. Let's go out and celebrate tonight. No need for celebration. I swirled the coffee in my hand, my tone as calm as the surface of a lake. I just took on a research assistant position with Professor Hua, so I'll be helping him organize the preliminary review materials for the innovation competition these days. Shin Shuyuan paused for a moment, then a hint of pride flashed in his eyes. I knew you wouldn't be able to sit still. That's good. You can keep an eye on the progress in the review group for Man, and remember to inform us of any developments in advance. This was Shin Shuyuan. He had already taken my efforts as his own resources, even demanding that I protect the stolen achievements for him. I'll keep a close eye on it, I replied calmly, turning to walk towards the teaching building. 3 days later, the preliminary review site of the National College Student Innovation Contest. As a temporary assistant to Professor Hui Yunting, I was sitting in an office filled with hard drives and printed papers, wearing a simple white shirt. Professor Hua pushed his glasses and scanned through the stacks of materials, finally stopping at Lin Man's submission, protein folding prediction model based on adaptive correction. Yu Qin, take a look at this. Professor Hua tapped on the desk, frowning. Is this Lin Man from your class? This idea is quite similar to the direction you mentioned to me earlier, but it uses a very clever Lagrange constant in the processing of the 1001st generation. I leaned over, my eyes falling on the dead loop formula I had personally planted. Maintaining a calm expression and a gentle tone, it is indeed very clever, Professor Hua. If this compensation algorithm can be established, it really can solve the problem of local convergence. The catch lies precisely in those 2 words, holds true. Professor Hua stood up and quickly wrote 3 formulas on the blackboard, which were the results he had just derived. I always feel that this logic is a bit floating in the physical scale. Yu Qin, you go to run the simulation experiment. Use our laboratory's supercomputer, input the measured crystal database. I want to see the results, okay? I took the hard drive into the computer room. Shin Shuyuan filled the submitted attachments with a lot of simulation results to make the paper look real, but he was too anxious, and all the data were fake prosperity made by the poisoned apple I gave him. The cooling fan of the supercomputer emitted a low rumble. I didn't change any code, only input a few difficult samples from the International Protein Structure Database, PDB. After 2 hours, a red error message popped up on the screen. Critical error, physical constraint violation at iteration 1001. Energy system diverged, calculation terminated. I stared at the red characters, a sense of cool pleasure rose in my heart. Shin Shuyuan, when you find that your proud masterpiece is actually a joke that violates the laws of physics, can you still laugh? I saved the error report, but did not immediately hand it over to Professor Hua. I need a bigger stage. Walking out of the machine room, I happened to meet Shin Shuyuan waiting for me at the door. He was holding a box of expensive chocolates, his eyes filled with determination. Chin, how was it? Did Professor Hua praise Man? The professor attached great importance to it. I looked into his eyes, my tone sincere. He even planned to recommend this achievement to the inter-school academic exchange meeting next week. That's an event where all the big shots in the academic circles will be present. Man, are you ready? Shin Shuyuan's breath caught. Then he was overjoyed. Really, that's great. Man has been memorizing the set of logical explanations you gave her, and she's definitely ready. Chin, it's all thanks to you. When Man wins the award, I'll definitely make sure she lists you first in her acknowledgements. There's no need for first place. I avoided his hand reaching for my hair, lowering my eyes. I just hope you won't regret it later. Regret? Why should we regret? He smiled brightly, completely unaware of the danger in my words. The next few days, Shin Shuyuan and Lin Man were almost living in the lab, busy polishing the PPT and customizing the exhibition posters. Lin Man even posted a photo of herself in a neat little suit on her moments, with the caption, "The harder I work, the luckier I get. Thank those who support me behind the scenes." The comment section was filled with likes, all praising her as the campus beauty and top student. I quietly gave her a like in return. The inter-school academic exchange meeting arrived as scheduled. The hall was filled with professors, investors, and major media outlets. Lin Man stood on the side of the stage, nervously fiddling with her brooch. Shin Shuyuan, on the other hand, was chatting with people in the audience like an agent, his tone filled with pride as he said, "My girlfriend is very talented. Now, please invite Lin Man to present her research findings." Lin Man stepped onto the stage in high heels, projecting a screenshot of the perfect code that I had modified on the big screen. She had memorized it well, even able to explain the incorrect Lagrange constant in great detail. The experts in the audience nodded frequently, until Professor Hui Yunting suddenly raised his hand. "Lin, how do you maintain the direction of system entropy increase when considering thermodynamic microscopic fluctuations in your Formula 3? Lin Man froze. This question was beyond her memorized scope. She looked desperately at Shin Shuyuan in the audience. And Shin Shuyuan was also confused, although he participated in the recheck. All his confidence was based on the premise that Yu Qin's information would never be wrong. Calm down. This, Lin Man stammered, forcing a smile. In our simulation, we found that this correction term can automatically offset the influence of fluctuations. Automatically offset. Professor Hua's voice turned cold. Lin classmate, there is no automatic in science. Just now, I had my assistant run your original algorithm in the backstage, and the result showed the system completely crashed at the 1001st generation. How did you get those perfect energy graphs in your thesis? The entire hall fell silent instantly. Lin Man's face turned from flushed to pale, and her flipping pen paw fell to the ground. I sat in the back row, quietly opening the backstage permissions for the projection equipment. The air in the hall seemed to be sucked dry, leaving only Lin Man's rapid and disorganized breathing. We ran it on the old laboratory model. Maybe it's a hardware compatibility issue. Lin Man was flustered, her pleading gaze locked firmly on Shin Shuyuan. Shin Shuyuan could sit still no longer. He abruptly stood up, adjusted his glasses, and, forcing himself to project the air of a senior colleague, spoke up. "Professor Hua, I served as the reviewer for this work of Lin Man's, regarding the data discrepancies. I suspect they may stem from our adoption of a unique logic for initial value perturbation. Lin Man is a bit nervous today, so I would be happy to explain the detailed calculation process on her behalf. He was attempting to muddy the waters, to downgrade a case of academic fraud into a mere computational error. Oh, how convenient, Professor was sneered, turning his head toward the control console. Yuqin, project the error logs generated by the supercomputer just now onto the big screen. Since student Shin is so eager to explain, let's verify the logic right here in front of everyone. Sitting in the back row, I gave the keyboard a light tap with my finger. The large screen switched instantly. On the left was the perfect yet fake energy convergence graph submitted by Lin Man. On the right was a screen full of dazzling red error messages. The error messages not only indicated that the algorithm had crashed but also precisely highlighted the formula that violated the laws of physics. Shin classmate, I picked up the microphone, my voice clear and cold, echoing throughout the venue. You mentioned the unique perturbation logic earlier. Does it refer to manually modifying the physical constants in the 1001st generation to cover up the logical dead end of the formula itself? Shin Shuyuan's face turned from pale to livid. He stared at the code details on the screen. It was the version he had personally reviewed and signed the previous night. Yuqin, what did you tamper with here? Shin Shuyuan shouted out of control, no longer caring about his refined image. This code is... He stopped mid-sentence. To say that the code was written by me would be tantamount to admitting plagiarism in public. I didn't say anything, and the charge of forgery would have to be borne by him and Lin Manchang. He was entangled in a logical dead end. What tricks did I play? I stood up slowly and walked to the front row, holding a stapled paper document in my hand. Classmate Shin, you seem to have forgotten. The initial draft of this code's logic was the very one I tossed into the recycle bin. You claimed that Lin Man retrieved it merely for reference, yet why is it that in the version you submitted, even a specific Lagrange constant I deliberately wrote incorrectly appears exactly the same? A collective gasp swept through the audience. At the experts' table, the expressions of several distinguished luminaries had already shifted to one of utter disgust, and here is the most critical point. I handed the document to Professor Hua, then turned to face Lin Man. Student Lin, in your paper, you claimed that this algorithm was your original conception, and the submission timestamp reads May 15th, at 10:00:15. But unfortunately, at 10:00:20 on May 15th, which is exactly 5 seconds after you submitted it, I published a preprint on AR-14 that was completely identical in content but entirely closed in logic. I tilted my head slightly, revealing a very subtle smirk. 5 seconds late, indeed. You were the first to post, but academia values original innovation. My preprint includes all original timestamps of the experiments, starting from the first logical point 2 years ago, with records of every line of code iteration, and yours. I pointed to the string of bright red error messages on the screen. Besides these glaringly fraudulent flaws, do you have any evidence that it originated in your minds? No, it's not like that. Lin Man completely collapsed, her legs giving out, only barely supporting herself on the lecture hall desk to avoid falling down. It's Brother Shir Yuan. He said this achievement could help me stay at the university. He asked me to remove your name. He said you would forgive me. Man, what are you talking about? Shin Shuyuan, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, interrupted in shock and anger. It was you who asked me to help you revise your thesis. It was you who couldn't produce results and was afraid of being eliminated. That's why I kindly helped you review it. You're lying. It was clearly you who gave me the USB drive. Manhua cried and smudged her makeup, pointing at Shin Shuyuan and screaming. You said Yuqin was just a bookworm, easy to trick, and that she would hand over her achievements just by coaxing her a little. The two tore each other apart fiercely in front of everyone. The former academic couple now resembled two rabid dogs rolling in the mud. Enough. Professor Hua heavily slammed the table, his voice filled with authority and anger. The inter-school exchange conference is not for watching your farce. Shin Shuyuan and Manhua are suspected of academic plagiarism, falsifying experimental data, and maliciously deceiving their supervisor. The school committee and legal department will conduct an investigation. Security quickly entered the scene, escorting the two who were still pushing and shoving at each other out of the venue. The hall fell into a brief silence. Everyone's gaze towards me changed, mixed with awe, sympathy, and genuine admiration for a top-tier genius. Yuqin. Professor Hua turned his head, his eyes reflecting a mix of fear and relief. The AR-14 preprint you mentioned earlier, does its logic truly close? I smiled and inserted the USB drive into the port. Professor Hua, the poisoned apple was a flawed attempt. The true achievement is here. The screen lit up, an exquisite dynamic folding simulation unfolded like a work of art, with no errors, no infinite loops, every curve precisely aligning with the laws of physics, even perfectly explaining the long-standing protein folding paradox. The audience rose to their feet, applause thundering. Amidst the cheers, I saw Shin Shuyuan's final glance before being taken away, his eyes red, filled with regret and disbelief. He finally realized, I wasn't the childhood friend he could easily manipulate, but a deity he could never reach, looking down from the clouds at him, and this was just the beginning. A scandal at an inter-school exchange meeting quickly escalated into an academic earthquake. The next morning, the school's official website posted an official announcement: Shin Shuyuan, assisted in plagiarism and academic misconduct, all honors revoked. Suspended probation, Lin Man, plagiarized papers and forged data, evidence conclusive, expelled from school. I sat in Professor Hua's office, with a stack of thick legal documents beside me. Yu Qin, this is the notice of infringement compensation drafted by the legal department. Professor Hua looked at me with a complex expression, his tone carrying a hint of sympathy. Shin Shuyuan just outside said he wanted to see you one last time. He begged for a long time. See me. I put down the fountain pen in my hand, my fingertips brushing against the cold paper. All right, but before that, I need to go to the archives. In the archives, Shin Shuyuan sat dejectedly on a bench, once impeccably groomed. His hair was now a mess, and the suit he had prepared for the award ceremony hung wrinkled on his body. He looked up abruptly at the sound of footsteps, his eyes bursting with almost deranged hope. Qin, you finally agreed to see me. He rushed forward to grab my hand, but I coldly sidestepped to avoid him. Shin classmate, watch your manners. My tone was flat, as if I were speaking to a complete stranger. You called me Shin classmate. He froze, then laughed at himself bitterly, his voice hoarse. Qin, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been swayed by Lin Man to help her, but I did it all for us. Man said that if she stayed in the university, her family's resources could help us secure a spot in the provincial key laboratory. I was trying to pave the way for our future. Pave the way, I interrupted him, my gaze sharp. Shin Shuyuan, you're making excuses for your greed. You knew full well that the algorithm was my hard work, yet you copied it without the slightest hesitation, when you kept insisting that I should be Lin Man's technical consultant at the Western restaurant. Did you ever consider my future? He opened his mouth, but his weak and insincere excuse paled in the face of my gaze. And don't mention the word future again. I took a file from my bag and threw it on the chair. This is the re-examination commitment you signed. Due to your negligence and cover-up as the re-examiner, the school's reputation was tarnished and sponsors withdrew their investments during the inter-school exchange meeting. The school will pursue full compensation for the economic losses caused by you, totaling 460,000 yuan. If you can't pay it back, this will forever be recorded in your file. Shin Shuyuan froze, his hand trembling as he opened the file, his face turning from blue to purple. 46,000 yuan was a boulder that could crush a student's life before they even graduated. Qin, you can't treat me this way. Our 20 years of feelings, 20 years, I sneered, my gaze as cold as ice. 20 years have taught me one thing, in this world, the only thing you can rely on is your own brain. Shin Shuyuan, when you chose to stand on Lin Man's side and tried to climb over my bones, you should have expected this outcome. I didn't look at him again, turning around and walking out of the archive room. At the end of the corridor, Lin Man was dragging her suitcase, looking disheveled under the supervision of two counselors as she left the school. Seeing me, she stopped and looked at me with a gaze devoid of her usual fragility, only filled with intense hatred. Yu Qin, don't be too pleased with yourself. People like you, who are cold-hearted, will never truly experience genuine emotions in your life. She spat out the words with venom. I stopped and calmly met her gaze. Lin Man, emotions are a lifeline for the weak, but just a decoration for the strong. If you can't even be honest, what right do you have to speak of emotions? She trembled with anger, but couldn't find a response, disappearing in disgrace amidst the crowd's contempt at the school gate. A month later, I was invited to attend the annual event of the International Society for Biological Computing. This time, I was no longer a shadow or an advisor to anyone. In the opulent hall, Professor Hua introduced me to several academic luminaries. This is Dr. Yu Qin, who published the new paradigm of protein folding prediction on AR-14, Professor Hua said with pride. A top scientist with silver hair shook my hand and sincerely praised, "Miss Yu, your algorithm has completely rewritten the efficiency of protein structure prediction. Our lab has tested it, and your logic is impeccable. It's hard to imagine that this came from an undergraduate." I politely thanked him, raised my glass, and looked out at the dazzling stars. In my past life, I was trapped in a dark laboratory, working myself to the bone for someone undeserving, ultimately becoming ashes. In this life, I used that code as a sword to break all chains. Xin Shuyuan was taken back to his hometown by his parents to repay the compensation money, and the whole family sold their only house. Due to his tarnished file, no more research institutes were willing to hire him. Lin Man disappeared and went to a small company to work, where she was ostracized by her colleagues because of her academic plagiarism history. They once wanted to steal my light, but in the end, they were blinded by this light. "Yu Qin, it's your turn to give the keynote speech," the assistant whispered. I adjusted my white professional suit and stepped onto my steady high heels, taking one step at a time towards my peak. Standing under the spotlight, looking at the thousands of academic peers below, I slowly began. The charm of science lies in that it will never betray those who respect logic. Today, I want to share a story about redefining. The applause in the audience was deafening. I no longer looked back. What are your thoughts after hearing this story? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. I look forward to hearing from you.